185milessouth.com.
Smash that Patreon button.
185 Miles South, a hardcore punk rock podcast. What's up, everyone? This week on the pod, we are talking hardcore, the year 1990. Helping out, you know him, you love him. It is the best dressed band on the pod. It is Daniel Sant. What's up, Dan?
Now, Wooly Willie got a pair of my sneakers. Wonder where he got them because I hid them behind my speakers.
Also helping out, it is Ben Merlis, a.k.a. Ben Edge, a.k.a. Bedge. What's up, Ben?
What's going on? You biffed that.
Yep.
You did. But also helping out, don't call him Cincinnati. It is the man known as Clevo. What's up, Clevo?
Ba-da-da-da-da-da. Saliba.
Oh, no.
1990 is a crazy year for hardcore. You know, if you think about all of the stuff in 1989, 1989 might be the best year of hardcore. And Dan argued that, I believe, on one of our podcasts. So we did the best year of hardcore. Is that right, Dan?
I think I took 88, but it easily could have been 89. Also,
yeah, look at this list for 89. Gorilla Biscuits, Start Today, Chain of Strength, True Till Death, Alone in the Crowd, 7-inch, Killing Time, Brightside, Sick of It All, Blood, Sweat, No Tears, Beyond, No Longer at Ease, Instead, We'll Make the Difference, Leeway, Born to Expire, Sheer Terror, Just Can't Hate Enough, Brotherhood, The No Tolerance for Ignorance, 7-inch, Turning Point, Self-Titled, 7-inch, The Doom, Police Bastard, 7-inch, Outburst, Miles to Go, 7-inch, Operation Ivy, Energy LP, Where the Wild Things Are LP, The Death Side, Wasted Dream LP, and plenty of things I don't miss. It might be the best year for hardcore before it starts really breaking out into a bunch of different ways and subgenres, so forth. Because in the year 1990, there's some amazing albums that have like their feet still stuck in that straightforward hardcore lane, but they're branching out. They're creating new lanes. I'm thinking about creative records like the Burn 7-inch, the Inside Out 7-inch, Integrity in Contrast to Sin 7-inch, the Outspoken Survival 7-inch, and the Rorschach Remains Sedate LP. These are all records where I would say they're straightforward hardcore, but there's a lot going on that are breaking off in different directions. And many of those directions in the years to come would be the marshmallow falling off the stick, as Dan likes to say. Ben, 1990, what is your write-up on it?
Yeah, I think of a lot of the stuff that I personally love collapsing around the turn of the decade, but most of that stuff doesn't really fall apart until 91 or 92 because 1990 is a fire-ass year. Like you said, you have a lot of that late 80s spillover into 1990, like a lot of the youth crew bands are still making records. And you also have that transition into kind of more innovative stuff, like what they call the Rev college years, to borrow an expression from the Where It Went podcast. So like Rev is just beginning to move away from traditional straight edge hardcore, but they're still putting out hardcore records. And then you have new age records and conversion records picking up some of the slack of the more straight ahead stuff. And then there's like true crossover shit like The Accused still happening. And also a proliferation of the more moshy NYHC and Cleveland style hardcore that would dominate the scene sort of in the middle of the decade. And then Discord is on its third generation of bands, you know, Fugazi, Shudder to Think, Nation of Ulysses, Jawbox, who don't sound anything like traditional hardcore. And they're sort of shaping a huge chunk of the bands that would form during the rest of the decade. And then you also have like Epitaph Records ramping up and the birth of the best dressed man's favorite record label, Fat Records, as well as Lookout Records putting out tons of shit in the Bay. So this is like the early stages of the pop punk explosion of the mid 90s. And then in Japan, you have that Burning Spirit style hardcore that Clevo discussed in an earlier episode. That's kind of firing on all cylinders as well. And then Slap-A-Ham Records forms this year. and they're known for Power Violence, but they're also putting out records by the Melvins, No Use for a Name, and Fu Manchu, all in 1990, which is just wild that all those like pretty influential bands are who sound nothing like each other are all coming out on the same label in the same year. And then Nemesis is putting out a really diverse array of stuff. Ebullition record starts this year. Doctor Strange record starts this year. It's like if you're into like 77 style punk, you're fucked. But there's something for pretty much everyone else in 1990. And it's like, it's kind of schizophrenic. It's like Fat Records versus Ebullition. Like, can you think of two things that are more different and they're all happening at the same time? And also important to keep in mind that to like norms in 1990, like punk was a thing that was born and died like a long, long time ago. So all the stuff we're talking about is like completely underground. Like you could easily have not been in the know and just not known any of this stuff existed at the time.
And you also left out that like Victory is getting rolling. You know,
oh yeah, Victory started the year before. Yeah, they started the year before. So yeah, they're putting out a handful of records, mostly 7 inches in 90. So yeah, a lot of stuff happening.
Hell yeah. Dan, 1990, what's your take?
Well, this is the year that Squirrel took a year off. I mean, Billingsgate came hard in 89 and then they dropped a single in 91, but Squirrel was hibernating in 90.
That's right.
I mean, Ben wrapped this up pretty good, but the thing that should be stated about 1990 and the next couple years is he just talked about how it's going wider and farther than ever before and splintering into many different things. Yet all of these bands in these weird, almost like opposing scenes would end up playing with each other in these times often, you know, especially in DIY spaces where booking people were like, well, this band's coming through and this band's coming through. Well, we'll put them on the show together, you know? And so you would have something like Born Against playing with Lagwagon or something along those lines, you know? So that's the funny thing that when we start thinking about how splintering the 90s start kind of after 89, and a lot of the stuff that we love in this time period, especially in 1990, is still very much going to be a continuation of the stuff we loved in the late 80s. There's still, so much like nuanced difference going on and going wider, yet it's all still one large scene at this point before it truly starts splintering, you know?
Clevo, anything you want to add to this?
You know, the stuff that's going to come when we think of like 90s hardcore, I think the groundwork is laid for it in this year. I don't think it's too crazy to say that, you know, we get the last Youth of Today record in 1990, and then sort of it's like our big brothers are gone, and now we're off to like do some different stuff, because you're going to see a lot of former like Youth Crewy sounding stuff sort of take that first step in 1990 to kind of go off towards what they're going to become in the early to mid 90s.
Hell yeah. All right. Well, we're doing a Super 7 for this year, 1990. Dan, explain the rules and let us know the order of the picks.
Okay, so a Super 7 is we are 4 people competing to make the best mixtape for you, the listener. So we are going to go round by round, fantasy football style, and we're all going to have one pick each in each round to pick the best songs from 1990. Now, you can pick multiple songs from the same band across these rounds, but you can't pick the same song. Once the song is taken, it is gone, and it is on your list. Then, at the end of this, we later in the week, we put the lists up for the listeners to vote on who they think had the best playlist, and then we also encourage them to tell us how bad we fucked up and the fact that we don't know what we're doing and we missed this song, and this song. And the order, as rolled by the dice, is myself first, Zach second, Ben third, and the Cincinnati Curse going to Clevo.
I love it. I love it. Okay, well, to kick it off, I'm going to shoot it to Dan. Are you going to either pick the Insight song with whispering and the bass solo, or Punk's Dead You're Next by Slapshot?
Well, now you're doing a spoiler alert because that may well be on my list. I'm not going to pick Insight, though. I am picking the best song of 1990, maybe the best song of the 1990s. I am going Break! Burning Fight, Inside Out. There is nothing more to say about this song than it is a mood. It is a vibe. It is arguably one of the most, or if not the most powerful hardcore song of all time. The way it builds and explodes, and if this doesn't move you, you don't get hardcore. If this doesn't move you, you're not fucking alive, actually. It's just pure power, and we've talked it a lot because we've talked the list of the 90s recently, but I have to have this as right out the gate. It's the best song in the entire decade, and might be it's up there for the best hardcore song of all time.
Yeah, we've talked this song in the 7-inch to death, but it's a great first pick. One of the things I love about it that we don't talk about much is the guitar tone just sounds loud. It sounds like it's surging, and that's a wild thing about it. Ben, you got anything on this?
Can't go wrong with Inside Out. There's no wrong answer. If you listen to our 1990 100 best records, Inside Out is number one. So that's how we feel about this. Yeah, I don't know if I have a favorite Inside Out song. So that I'm not heartbroken by Dan's pick.
Clevo, you want to speak on this, or should we go to me for my number one?
This is a great song. The only knock I have against it, and it has nothing to do with Inside Out, it's just that every band in the 90s tried to cover it, and they just couldn't get it right, whether they didn't have Zach on vocals. So I never seeing Inside Out and, just having the record, I think that hearing a lot of bands try to cover it, it's not the same.
But that's what makes it so good, that it's impossible to capture.
Yeah, because they can't hit the tempo is part of it, right? Obviously, you're not going to have pipes like Zach.
No.
But to hit that tempo, like this song can't be like sped up. It loses a lot of the power.
Yeah.
Shout out Reggie. Okay,
Shout
my
out
number
Droopy.
one. Okay,
It was
my number
Droopy.
one is Chance Strength, Too Deep Until Now. Some of the best hardcore drumming there is, some of the best hardcore singing there is, some of the best hardcore songwriting there is. This song is a straight up opus in like 2 minutes, and it's a perfect hardcore song. It's Blueprint. I'm glad I got it. I was doing a lot of comparing the 2 Chainz 7 inches this week, and I think I've finally decided that I like True Till Death more. This 7-inch has maybe the better songwriting, maybe the better drumming, but like True Till Death has like the biggest moments. But Too Deep Until Now might be the best Chance Strength song. I'm stoked to have it. And Ben, what's your take on it?
Yeah, another record where there's no wrong answer. Another classic. Going back to that Inside Out song, I just thought it reminds me of Barracuda by Heart. And we talked about that on episode 185 about how there's a little bit of that. So I just wanted to throw that in. Yeah, this is great. Too Deep Until Now was at one point my favorite Chain of Strength song. I'm not sure if I have one now, but great pick.
Dan, this made your short list, right?
Oh, absolutely. 5 years down the line, you won't see me ashamed of having this in my Super 7, but you got it. So I've been shamed.
Clevo, you have some on this, or should we shoot it to Ben for his number one?
I think that this record overall, it's just so raw compared to the Rev 7-inch, and just the drumming, you said it, but there's a lot of YOLO in the drumming, even on the more restrained parts. The drumming is just there. It's a great record, great pick.
Hell yeah, Ben. What is your number one pick?
My number one. Do I sound? I know my microphone is not working, but so do I sound okay now?
I mean, you sound as good as you can sound making the wrong number one pick.
I'm gonna go Inside Out Redemption. And why am I picking Redemption? Well, because it's only on the compact disc version of the Inside Out EP. So you're gonna have to fire up that CD player, or just go on Spotify and listen to it. It's just, man, it's hard to put into words how powerful this band is, and I missed them just like you guys did. A tiny bit before my time. Zach is one of the all-time greatest hardcore front people.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Retaliate is the best people. You know it. Buy our CD, indecisionrecords.com. If you love the 90s, get down with that CD game. Retaliate 4 plus bonus tracks, indecisionrecords.com. And thank you for the compliment, Ben. Appreciate it.
No problem, ZACH. Oh, shit. And it's also it's strange that when you listen to Rage Against the Machine, who everyone seems to love, he doesn't sound like the same person, and he doesn't sound good at all to me. He sounds amazing on Inside Out and not good on Rage Against the Machine. I don't know what happened between 90 and 91, but here you get the tail end of the excellence of Zach De La Rocha as a hardcore singer.
Hell yeah. All right, Clevo, let's go to you for your number one.
My number one pick is going to be the opening track on the Burn 7-inch, and that is Shall Be Jugged. Perfect record, I think. We've talked this record a lot on the podcast, but just that opening, the drums, no one we've talked a lot about how like no one has a voice like Zach, Bratton drums, no one plays guitar in hardcore like Gavin. Just like great song. And then who's talking about great frontmen, who's a better frontman than Chaka? So shall be judged. Great fucking record, great opener, and just like really talking about like what's coming in the 90s. This is a good place to like plant the flag as to sort of what's coming. There's groove, it's heavy, it's hard, it's the execution is excellent. It has everything.
It's probably the greatest hardcore record ever. I think it's, like I've said before on the pod, it's the apex of hardcore. It's as far as you can take it before it starts like getting away from being that first gen straightforward hardcore. It is so perfect. The recording is so distinct to it and adds to it. It's like listening to like early 80s punk and having the recording be the fifth member of the band. This recording is like the fifth member of Burn. It just makes it so burly and unique, and nothing is ever like that again. Like there's been plenty of records that come out of there, but nothing sounds like this. It's amazing. I love the pick. Dan, you want to jump in on this?
Yeah, the staccato initial mosh part where it's the loudest a kick drum and toms like together being hit it's just those like ding, 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 like that part is just so fucking incredible. And nothing else sounds like it. Nothing ever will sound like that. And the tempo of it is so unique to this. It's almost sounds like a trigger of like a gun, like it just is. I don't know. It's an incredible pick. The lyrics are fantastic to this song also. Vegetarian pride running through it, and that is awesome. And it's just, I don't agree that it's the best 7-inch in hardcore, but I do think it is one of the best things ever in 1990 for sure.
Well, Dan, you can't argue the minor threat 7 inches after you left them off your straight edge Super 7. Ben, do you want to touch this?
Yeah, now I'm upset because I definitely would have picked this in round 2, and it makes me wonder why I didn't go for Burn in round 1. It's interesting, Zach, though, that you say this is possibly the best 7-inch ever in hardcore, yet you didn't pick it for your round 1. Anyway.
Yeah, I'm a sucker like that. But there's
He's
a little
going
bit of
for Godhead.
strategy. There's a little strategy going into this game. And yeah, if Dan takes Godhead, I'll take the last song on the record. Dan, let's go to you for your number 2.
Okay. Now we were gassing up 1989 as this absolutely incredible year, right? 1990 is bringing it, man. There's so much good stuff on this. And I think I have to take it because it's still on the board. And Disengage by Youth of Today. The final Youth of Today recording, perhaps the cleanest of the recordings. Taking a break from Shelter to come back and do this record, I believe, right? And the aggression is still there, but it's channeled in almost like a laser focused way. I think what's amazing about this is it is such an aggressive song, yet it's still catchy, yet it's recorded beautifully. So everything about it I absolutely love. And then I've just got to look at the artwork too. One of the best frontmen doing one of the best things a frontman can do, a fucking Youth Crew jump to amazingness. So Disengage, Youth of Today is my second pick.
Yeah, this is Dawn Fury, same year as the Burn 7-inch, and it's probably the recording that sounds maybe the closest to the Burn 7-inch, but obviously the bands don't sound similar. This song is awesome. This recording is awesome. And yeah, one of the greatest songs, straight up. I love it. Ben, what's your take on this?
This is also upsetting because this was on my short list too. I did not strategize this well. This has got to be my favorite Youth of Today song. I remember listening to it during a massive earthquake in 1992 on headphones. And when you can't hear an earthquake and you can only feel it, it's half as scary. So that's a little pro tip. Just always be listening to loud music at all times when the big one comes. It was written by Walter, which I learned from seeing Youth of Today, and they wanted Walter to come up and sing along to the song, and he was very hesitant. And I thought, of course it was written by Walter. No wonder, because it's such a fucking great song. Of course it was written by the guy who wrote like every Gorilla Biscuit song. I love the breakdown at the end with the octaves and the vocal flow. It's just one of those songs where it's like, I could quote it front to back pretty much. It's like they recorded this after they broke up. Like, imagine if they had never recorded this, the world would be a slightly less fun place to live.
Clevo, you want to touch this?
Yeah, it's such obviously a Walter song. Just the way it kicks in, the bass, the tone's good. I did hear this, could be totally folklore, but I heard that getting Ray to do the vocals for this took a long time because he was not in that angry mode when they did it, and it really took a while for him to get fired up and really get the vocals going for it, because the vocals when it finally does come across, he's got that capo growl, and yeah, great. Yeah, I feel like there's just so many great songs that we could pick from this year that this is just another one in a long line.
I heard the same thing, Clevo, about the vocals.
I mean, we probably all heard it from the same place. I mean, but yeah, it's I think it's been told enough that it could very well be true. And if it's not, let's just believe it.
Yeah, I heard they had to give him cocaine, and then he went nuts. Okay, so let me see here. I'll take Burn Godhead. Gotta have it on my list. It is the best song off the best 7-inch. And shout out to Ben's podcast, Spirit Animal Hav from the Where It Went podcast. Yeah, the song, it's amazing because Shelby Judge comes in and it's so burly, so gnarly, fast song, big dynamic parts, right? With like the tom part that Dan was talking about. And then this song comes and it starts very similar in the way the song kicks in and so forth, but then it just has this part where it goes to like that clean channel guitar, the ding 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 ding, which is so good, and then they ring out and it goes like let the bass walk, and then it kicks and is all aggressive with hear me, I'm calling out. Like, I dare ye to write a better song than this. Anyone. Jimmy Page, what's up, bitch? Burn is better than you. You know what I'm saying? This is like apex of music in general, and I am glad I have it on my list. Ben, let's go to you for your number 2.
Before Ben picks, can we just say that the guitar player of Atari and Jimmy Page are both getting blasted these days on 185?
Hey, but the guitarist of Atari gets free lunch anytime he's in San Diego because that's the homie. All right.
I vaguely remember maybe the second time I was ever on 185 Miles South. I played a piece of Godhead on the guitar, and Zach was like, "Oh, it was better when Burn played it." So
stop me when I'm wrong.
Incredible song, and definitely I promised myself if side A from the Burn 7-inch was taken, and if I would not pick a Burn song, and if Disengage was taken, I would not pick a Youth of Today song. So get ready for some oddball shit towards the end of this episode. For my number 2 pick, I'm going with Modern Man by Bad Religion. It is the first song off their Against the Grain LP. And I would say that at this point, I believe that Against the Grain is the last masterpiece, not the last good Bad Religion album, but the last masterpiece Bad Religion album. And there's a skate video with Jesse Roach, he was a skateboarder who was like 12 or 13 years old, really little kid skating to this song. And I just thought, he's not even a man. He's like a modern boy. Why is he skating to this? But it just begins with this ripping guitar lead, or is it a solo? According to Zach, it's a lead. And then goes into a very wordy, verbose, Greg Graffin classic lyrical fucking whatever.
Thesaurus Core.
Yeah, Thesaurus Core. They're just it's funny. It's like it's so well recorded, but I don't think it's overproduced. I think Generator to me is slightly overproduced, but depending on who you ask, it's like the cutoff is on a different record because it's a general progression towards melodic and away from the rough edges of the early 80s Bad Religion. But this is the sweet spot for me.
I agree 100%, Ben. I think this is the last classic perfect record. It's probably Suffer's the best. But yeah, like Generator, the songs on it are great, but you're right. It's a production change. And this is the last one that has that semi-raw recording. It's so bright, but it still has that like old punk, like a little, it's hard to call it a thinness, but it is compared to like that beefed up studio type recording that like Generator would have. And yeah, Modern Man, God, what a great way to kick off a record with a lead like that. It is just absolutely perfect. Clevo, you have something on this, or you want to take your number 2?
We talked all these we talked the post Suffer Bad Religion records. And this is where you'll probably put a link to the pod somewhere. But we did talk about that on a previous pod. But yeah, we'll probably talk about this record again at some point tonight, I assume. So for my second pick, I'm going to go with Absolution, Dead and Gone off of the Murders Among Us comp. I just talked up Gavin, so let's talk up Gavin again. Great guitar player. This, I think, is the best recorded representation of Absolution. Their 7-inch, just doesn't. For all the stories you heard about how great Absolution was when you got that 7-inch, it was such a letdown. I think hearing it on this comp, and their song on the other comp on the New Breed comp. But I think this has the best. I think this has the best production. Lyrically, this is so good. Kind of talking about that turn that people growing out of hardcore and growing out of punk and just like this is still ours, and just all around great song. This comp also, I could pick any one of the songs off of this comp and be happy to have it on my list. So if you've ever been on the fence about Absolution because of hearing their recording, check out this song. It's a banger. And this really does have probably the best production of anything you're going to hear from them.
Yeah, everyone, that's a good time to say there's a playlist for every episode. You can go to 185milesouth.com, click that playlist link, and check out all the songs we talk about. And Cleva, that's a great point because, yeah, I'm with you. I think this song and Never Ending Game from the new Breed comp are like the two Absolution songs I go to all the time. Yeah, and by all accounts, like one of the greatest hardcore bands, but the 7-inch like never grabbed me, and the discography they had was it was hard to get through, like as a young hardcore fan, that it never ended up being like canon for me. But these two songs have always hit playlists. Ben, you got anything on this?
Yeah, this is the best Absolution song. This is up there with the Burn 7-inch for me. The breakdown is very unique. It's got that boom da ba ba da ba ba da ba ba da dingy 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 dingy. And I remember playing it for the drummer in my band Bad Reaction at the time. I go, listen to this breakdown, and he said, that sounds easy. I could play that, and I said, yeah, but you didn't think to play that. That's the thing. They did. It's like, oh, I could have come up with that, but you didn't come up with that. So props to Absolution for coming up with that. Incredible.
Yep. Mark Rothko breakdowns.
So ill. Okay, Dan, let's go to you. Round 3.
All right. Let's get ugly. Final Word by Mean Streak off of the Only the Strong Victory comp. This is Mean Steve on vocals, just absolutely ripping it. This is probably somewhere in Clevo's DNA, like in a couple of blood cells swimming around right now, because this is so Clevo. This meaning the town, not the person, but also a little bit of the person as well. This is so fucking hard. This is so fast but mean, and the breakdown is so ill, and it's one of those things where you're like, why didn't they do more? Please, we want more. And we didn't get it. So we have to just love this one song and just absolutely fucking play it over and over again on your 7-inch or Spotify.
Yeah, that breakdown riff on this, I mean, that should be played every time the Browns like score a touchdown, right?
Absolutely.
So it's never going to be played
4 times a season.
Cold, Clevo. Cold. Yeah, 4 times a year they play it. Yeah, okay. Dude, great song. And Dan tipping off people that didn't realize that 7-inch came out this year, that Confront song is available.
Yeah, so. I went for this instead just because the recording on this just elevates it just one touch. But that Confront song has a line in it, or it is called something that means a lot. So it may be popping back up.
Yeah, the Integrity song in that comp, I like that version more, and that might be my favorite Integrity song.
Me too. I like that version more too.
Yeah, the way he sings is just it's maniacal, you know. But my number 3, I'm taking following Ben. I'm taking Bad Religion, Anesthesia. Just an opus, and shout out to the Reggae Toms. This song is perfect, and anyone that can explain what the lyrics mean to me, I will send you In Control Test Press. Because you can't, dude. What the fuck are they talking about? But it doesn't matter. The music rips. The recording is perfect. And this is just Apex Bad Religion. This is one of my favorite albums by one of my favorite bands, and one of my favorite songs on that album. So, hell yeah, that's my pick. Ben, let's go to you for round 3.
Yeah, good pick. That was actually my alternate if you or anybody else had picked Modern Man before me. So all of my favorite shit is being picked either by myself or by someone else. For my number 3 pick, I gotta pick a Chain of Strength song. Come on. You know Frosty's a friend of the pod. He's listening right now. I'm going to go Through These Eyes because I love that line where he says, sometimes I feel like letting go because the distance between us is so far. I try to find a way to bridge the gap, but I still see hope. Of course, I probably fucked those lines up, but it always reminds me of me and my older brother because we did not get along very well at all back when I was bumping this every single day. So maybe this is my favorite Chain of Strength song at this point. Anyway, it's just so good. It's like I actually do like the second Chain 7-inch better than the first one. I think they figured out a way to sort of add complexity to that Youth Crew formula without making it something other than Youth Crew. So yeah, Through These Eyes.
Hell yeah. I mean, like, this 7-inch is nothing but winners. It's just 4 bangers. So anything is a correct answer. Clevo, let's go to you for number 3.
Just really quick, I love when it has the Through These Eyes in the like that's just so just like those little catchy things that get thrown in there.
Does anyone know who that is?
I don't.
Ben, text Frosty. Let's try to get it.
I will. I'll
Before
ask
the end
him.
of the pod.
I'll text him right now. Yep.
Right on.
I think it's Pete Cola.
Oh yeah. I thought it was Chubby Fresh. Clevo, let's go to you for number 3.
Speaking of Chubby Fresh, I'm going to take Darkness by Integrity. And I don't know if it's a different version, but from the Grace of the Unholy cassette single that came out on Progression Records, I think it might be the same version that's on the Only the Strong comp. And it's on the Den of Iniquity CD that Integrity put out, which has probably been repackaged as something else at this point. But this version, hearing this after hearing the 7-inch, which also came out in 1990, hearing Darkness, it just seems like such a jump from the 7-inch and from the demo just to hear. It's just got a little more force behind it, and just like kicks in with the drums. Another song that just has like one of those things that hangs, but like when that little bass slide hits before the second verse, it's just like one of those little catchy parts that you see. But probably my favorite Integrity song, and just probably the best representation of them before the LP came out. And kind of, I think, like changed everything. They were still sort of living in that, we're a little metallic, but still like really based in hardcore before they kind of went full on what Integrity becomes.
Yeah, this is my favorite song, and it's so ill. Like, I'm glad they put it on the LP because it fits perfect. And like adding that intro, like that clean channel intro on the LP is like, God. Because usually when bands re-record a song, you're like, dude, I like the original more. And here I do as well. But the fact that they added this like precursor to it on the LP, like make me love listening to that LP version just as much. So yeah, I love this. Clevo, try to find that version and send it to me if it's on Spotify. Otherwise, I'll put up the 7-inch version, or excuse me, the only the song version.
I'm not sure if it's a different recording, but because they both came out in 1990, so who knows?
Right on. I'm going to toss that one up there, and everyone don't get at me. Dan, let's go to you for your number 4.
Okay. Really, I could take anything off this record and it would be a winner, but there's a couple of like personal favorites that I absolutely love. And there's one in particular that I would be betraying myself if I didn't take this particular song. So I'm going to take Face Up by Turning Point off It's Always Darkest Before the Dawn. Face Up has like an it's just a great Youth Crew sounding song, but it still has that dripping emotion that will really come to the fore with later Turning Point. But it has this amazing like kind of Youth Crew break, and you think that that was the break of the song, and then no, they give you at the end, it's time for you to face up. Like probably the illest two-step skanking part of all time. Like that part is so good. Like when I was listening to it today, I listened to it about 15 times in a row, and Reggie and I were just two-stepping, which me trying to two-step inside the house ends up looking like me doing the Roger Rabbit or something. It's just really bad. But I got to tell you, Face Up by Turning Point with a tiny little bit of slap bass. What Jesus Christ, fucking incredible LP, but this is the highlight for me.
This is a great pick. It's the banger off the record. Turning Point's a great band to talk about because you can really latch on to different parts of their career. For me personally, I like the very late stuff and the 7-inch, you know? This LP is a little strange for me personally. I don't know. It just has, I don't know. I had it and I sold it. Now I wish I didn't, because like it's a little darker sounding, so it might sound better if I played it on vinyl, but I'm not paying $100 to get it back. So yeah, anyway, Ben, you want to talk on this?
Great pick. I don't have a favorite song on the Turning Point LP, but Turning Point's one of those bands who, you know, continued to evolve. We're only around for about 3 years, and everything sounds like an evolution towards better and better music. So excellent band. This is sort of the beginning of, I think, New Age Records picking up the slack left by Revelation in terms of like putting out LPs by straight edge hardcore bands who are doing interesting stuff.
Hell yeah. Everyone, I just want to say real quick, the quality of this pod, I don't know how great it's going to be. We had some technical issues with like the program that we usually use to record. So we pulled some last minute stuff, and Dan sounds a tiny bit echoey, and Ben sounds like he's not using the mic. And then I don't know how this is going to come out. So I apologize. We'll try to get it back together for next time.
I only sound echoey in tribute to Whispercore and Integrity Recordings.
Yeah, it's like it's not that egregious, but like you never know how it's going to come out when like it gets mixed down. Okay, sticking with New Age, I am going to take the song "Survival" by the band Outspoken. I absolutely love the song. I love this band. The LP is my favorite, but good God, man, this 7-inch bangs. I've been listening to it a lot the last few days. Animals slaughtered by the millions. Gotta try to save them. Hell yeah, dude.
Yeah.
And then the singer just like on the chorus hitting like the semi note, survival. So like catchy and soulful and ill, and then just the bounce. This band is like remarkable. I think that a lot of people that are in like that 90s hardcore kick should really go and look at this band, because they got a lot of like that early 90s bounce. There's like a darkness to the sound. The lyrics, the dude always like is able to tuck in something catchy into every song. And then also like there's like another song on the 7-inch, like it's like there's like a drum fill that's like the hook. Da 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 doom doom da. I don't know. It's like something catchy is tucked into every single Outspoken song. they're one of my favorite bands of all time, and I'm stoked to have this on my list. Dan, you got anything on this?
I'm so psyched that you've picked this. I'm so psyched that there are two like vegetarian, because this is when coming out of the 80s, vegetarianism is becoming very deep rooted in hardcore around this time. And I think having Shall Be Judged and Survival both on the playlist is fucking awesome. And I really echo your sentiment on Coil doing the survival, like almost getting a little Elvis-y on it. So good. And I think you've already just got the Mark Boardman from Manchester pick by just having Outspoken on your list. So you're already 1-0 up.
Ben, you got anything on this?
Yeah, it's like you can really hear the influence of hip hop creeping into hardcore with this song. It's very bouncy. It's very hip hop, it's very rapidy, as I like to say. And also, when I hear this song, I think of a real specific kind of style of dress that a lot of straight edge kids were rocking in the early 90s, which is you got the long sleeve t-shirt with the four-sided print, with print down both sleeves, front and back, and then the really tight kind of like Krishna beads, or like they ripped the chain, the ball chain holding the pen at the bank off, and then wrap that shit around your neck, and then just maybe this might be a tad bit before the silver hoop earrings, the 2 silver hoop earrings, but baseball hats abound. Like you look at pictures of straight edge shows in '90, every person in the audience is wearing a baseball hat. Like that's the fucking dress code. Very cool look, very cool sound. Love it. Love the pick. John Coyle's the shit. Went to see the Circle Jerks and Todd Jones introduced me to him, and this is the way Todd Jones is. He'll like look at me and he'd be like, "Fucking John Coyle, man." I'm like, "Yeah, I know, it's fucking cool." Like we hang out with John Coyle, like this guy whose records we listened to for years and we never knew him. So for my number 4 pick, I am going to pick something that's going to piss. Actually, Zach's going to be happy about this because it's not going to be one of his picks, so I'm not stealing one of his picks. It's 1, 2, 3, Repeater by Fugazi. This is from their debut LP, also titled Repeater. A big record. This is their best album, not counting 13 songs because that's not really an album.
Wrong.
What's wrong?
In on the Kill Taker. But anyway, continue with your description of this fantastic song.
Right. Yeah, this is the best. And actually, there is a big hip hop influence in this song too. I didn't do that on purpose, but now that I'm remembering, a lot of those weird guitar sounds are sort of like they're sort of stand-in for scratching because they were listening to a lot of Public Enemy at the time. So it's sort of about witnessing violence outside your window and like kind of not doing anything about it. And reading about people getting murdered every single day. Like Washington D.C. was a super, super violent city in the late 80s, early 90s. The crack epidemic was out of control, and I think that's what this song is about. So, anybody got anything else on this one? I know Dan, you're a huge Fugazi fan. I don't know where you stand, Clevo.
Apparently, Ben's just taking over the podcast because I still needed to shoot it to Clevo for Outspoken Survival, but
Yeah.
it's cash.
Oh, sorry about that, brah. I thought I was doing Zach a favor and like flowing into pick 4. Sorry.
It's all good. Clevo, you have a take on Outspoken Survival and also on Fugazi Repeater.
I am probably in the minority that I'm not a huge Outspoken fan, but I love that 7-inch. I probably would not have taken that song, but yeah, I don't really want to say too much more about that. Give away any further picks. As far as this would not be the song that I would pick off this, but this whatever Zach thinks about this band and this record, fucking Repeater to me is always hands down going to be my favorite Fugazi record.
Hell yeah. Dan, you want to speak on this, or should we shoot it to Clevo for his number 4?
I am gonna visit this album too, so I'll abstain for now, and then I will say something in a bit.
Clevo, number 4.
Oh, there's still so much stuff out there, and trying to be defensive, but I am going to go with Rorschach from the Remain Sedate album, and I'm going to take the song "Lightning Strikes Twice." You know, Rorschach is a band that some of the other bands that we'll probably talk about, throughout the rest of this too. We've been seeing sort of, as youth of today, breaking up. And I said, like, this is where the Big Brother's gone and stuff shooting off. We've also, seen that shift from the CB's kind of crowd to the ABC No Rio crowd with some of the bands we've been talking about. I know that Absolution played CB's, but I kind of, and Burn did too as well. But I feel like they kind of bridged that CB's ABC No Rio crowd. That Murders Among Us comp that I talked about before, because it has Nausea and Born Against and Life's Blood. So kind of just like this reaction to the Youth Crew type of band, and Rorschach also had a bit of that. Their music, so brutal, just so has some grindy parts to it. Really smart lyrics. This song is about the Holocaust. Not so much this album, but the second Rorschach album, was really influenced by Die Kreuzen, the Die Kreuzen self-titled LP, and really, kind of has a lot of that, just like really fast, but still is like really heavy, and just nothing really sounded like this when it came out. So Charles has a very distinct voice, although his voice changed. He has two very distinct voices, because he has the voice he has on this album, and then he has the voice that he's going to have on the later recordings because of his throat surgery. I know, Zach, you hold this album in high regard, so I'll shoot it back to you.
I love this LP. It's hard to choose a track of this record. I think it's like best taken in as like an LP. There's so much wild stuff on this, and so much like proto stuff on it. Like, I mean, even if you just think about that song Oppress, it's like that shit sounds like Dark Throne before Dark Throne sounded like Dark Throne, right? It's like Dark Throne is putting out a death metal record in 91, they're not getting black metal until 92. And it's like the way that song starts, like literally sounds like what they would sound like. It's kind of insane. And then if I had a hardcore time machine, I don't know. And like, let's say I had a few picks of things I could change. In the top 3 is to have these guys go record with this LP with Dawn Fury, because this LP is, I think, looking at it with like a 2022 ear for like kids that aren't like steeped into hardcore. It's a rough listen. I think this recording is pretty bad. I just go ahead.
Not to cut you off, but like, have you listened to it compared to the reissues they did when they did the reunion tour?
I don't know.
And I think the reissue, the remix versions are probably what's on streaming. There's just I think there's more bass in the reissues.
Yeah, it's like a record that sounds better when you listen to the vinyl, because there's a little bit of that warmness. Like a lot of records that have semi sus like recordings, I think sound better on vinyl. Like this one isn't perfect for the digital era. I don't know, but the songs shine through, and it's just amazing for how much wild shit they put on this record. Again, hard to narrow down a song. This is a great hit. And it's it's a reset in the album, because it has like, the sample before it and stuff. So it is kind of a standout track, but man,
I love too. After when it all breaks down, it gets like quiet. He's like, surrender to your higher power, submit to your higher power, or whatever he says. And then it like kicks in with that like mid tempo. And then when he says like the Remain Sedate, and then there's just like the yelling in the background. Just This is a record that sounds at times where the world is just coming to an end.
Yes, it's like a spectacular LP, like in that regard. I don't know. I love it. Everyone's got to check it out. Check this song out. This is a great song to pick off the record, although there's a ton. It's really hard to represent this band in one song. So I hope that people check out the whole record. It's like one of the records we should big up more because it's really spectacular. Dan, let's go to you. Round 5.
That song and band was on my list. This song in particular, I was going to take. So
Dan's just trying to not get beat up by Mike Cheese. But, you got Rorschach on his list. I had that song, dude. That was the one I was going to take. Rorschach was on my list, dude.
was that the song that you were going to take as well?
That's my Mike Cheese excuse too, dude.
Oh, well, the hot dogs are coming for you. I really was going to take that. So, Mike, get the ballpark Franks towards Zach, not me. I'm gonna have to take this, and it'll be a slight redemption in regards to Mike, but this is so evil, and I've got to take it. Integrity, Harder They Fall. I mean, I'm gonna tear you limb from limb, break you piece by piece, put you in a state where it takes all you've got to breathe. It's so mean. It's so hard. It's so fucking great. The recording is awesome. Yes, it might get a little bit better later, but this song is the one that I think it just rattles around in my head for this year's of Integrity. I mean, I could take like 4 or 5 different Integrity songs from this year, obviously, but this is the one where it's just so rotten. It's just really, really rotten. So in the best possible way. So I'm taking Harder They Fall, Integrity.
I love it. Great song. You know, if you're choosing off the 7-inch, it's the one. You know, the end of In Contrast to Sin is so ill too, though.
Yeah.
But yeah, Harder They Fall. That's the way. Clevo, what do you got on this compared to the song you took?
Yeah, I feel like a lot of the 7-inch, they re-recorded for the first LP. But I think for some of those songs I prefer the 7-inch versions. I think just because that's what I heard first. Again, this was coming out of Die Hard, and Confront kind of being either done or not really as much of a band. Just the change for Integrity, when they started playing, I said probably when we did the Cleveland podcast that before, there was a time in my life where Integrity is the band that I had seen more times than any other band. So I ride hard for them. I ride hard for the 7-inch, and pretty much everything they did up with the Melnicks and Frank all the way through. So I can't really say much more about the band.
I was on mute. Hell yeah. Okay, I am going to take my 5th round pick. Dude, the world is my oyster. This is my poison idea round, and I got 4 to choose from. Let me go. I'm going to take Just to Get Away because I got to be true to myself. This is like one of my favorite songs ever. Someone's tapping something or walking around not muted. Anyway, Death of an Idiot Blues off this record is ridiculous. Like that part when he's like talking like he was just a boy when it's still fast. Good God. Yeah. The Badge, perfect mid-tempo anti-cop song, and Plastic Bomb. What a way to kick off a record with like the piano and then just going into what's like really just a basic hardcore song when you think about it on paper, but like the way they do it, it's like it really is like them laying something down and just being like, here's a blueprint of how to write a perfect song, right? It's got the woes for Ben, and it's got just big moments, but Just Get Away, perfect mid-tempo banger, just savage and dirty and ill. catchy, like fuck. It's just like one of those songs like you want to kick on when you like pull out of your parking spot and hit the road. You want to drive fast. Like this is the one. Like this is like the soundtrack. Like, I absolutely love this song. Clevo, what's your take on this song? And if you're not going to hit Poison Idea later, what do you think about this album?
So I was actually jumping back and forth between taking Rorschach or Poison Idea with my last pick because I knew that you were going to take one of them. So I'll probably be talking about this again soon.
Hell yeah. Okay. Ben, let's go to you for your number 5.
All right. I am going Turning Point as well, but I'm not picking something off of their LP. I'm picking the song Broken off of the Rebuilding 7-inch comp. This is sort of, I'm almost certain they recorded this after they did the LP because it's melodic and it's leaning into what they would end up doing the following year with the No Escapes Turning Point split 7-inch. This is like, peak Turning Point, like the best sort of like You Broke My Heart melodic hardcore, but not corny the way bands in the mid 2000s tried to do You Broke My Heart melodic hardcore. Like this is like, it's such a fine line. It's just like you talk about the marshmallow falling off the stick. Like, how come 9 times out of 10 bands try to do this and the marshmallow falls off the stick? I don't know why, but Turning Point are the masters. This is how it's done. It's sort of the I'm trying to think of other bands that kind of hit on this vibe before they did. It's hard to say within that kind of youth crew world what they're doing here, because you have Gorilla Biscuits doing melodic hardcore, but they're not really doing like, heartbreak songs. Anyway, great friggin' song. Come on, if you've heard it before, you know I'm right.
I didn't realize this was 1990. This might have been my number 1 pick. This is a spectacular song, one of the greatest hardcore songs of all time, and deserved to go earlier, in my opinion. But good God, I'm glad someone grabbed it. Yeah, I mean, just think about if the No Escape side is fine, right? But like, imagine if this song was on that 7-inch instead of No Escape. You're looking at like top 5, top 10 hardcore 7-inch of all time, and like, if you look at our list for the 90s, it still made it super high, but I think it's undeniable that like with our consensus votes, it would have bumped into like the top 5, who knows? Dan, what's your take on this?
Incredible. It's we've talked about a few things on this being like blueprints for things to come, and this is strongly in that camp. Great pick.
Hell yeah. Clevo, what do you have on this? And you can just roll right into your number 5 as well.
I'm just mad that I didn't pick this.
Hell yeah.
I had, we talked about the LP, and there's like one song I go for a couple of deep cuts off of that, but really overlooking this song, was a major brain fart for all of us. For my, what are we, number 5? For my number 5 pick, I'm going to take that Poison Idea now, and I'm going to go with Gone for Good. Just a short little ripper, which has some, pro-environmental lyrics, which just really, lyrics still hold up. We talk about Poison Idea a lot around here, and Jerry comes across as completely different than he really is when you hear him talk. And these lyrics are really just just like about making money, like spilling oil and just ruining the environment, which is really, really cool to think about. Like, over 30 years ago they were doing it, and it's such a ripper. And the chorus is really catchy. The song itself is like a minute and a half. Just really, really quick, gets in, bangs it out, fits on this. I mean, this whole record, again, we've talked about it, is this whole record is just awesome, front to back. So many songs we could have picked off of it, but this is just a good little quick minute and 16. And just the whole part where he's like, greedy bastards will never learn. It's gone for good, won't return. It's gone for good. Yeah, it's the jam.
Dude, hell yeah. I'm glad this is on there twice, or this record. It is one of the greatest hardcore records ever. People, check it out. Ben, check it out. Because I think with the woes in the first song and the anti-cop mid-tempo banger, you might get into this album if you give it a fresh listen.
I am into this album. This is my favorite Poison Idea album, and I had Just to Get Away as an honorable, but we'll get to that at the end.
Hell yeah. Okay, Dan, round number 6.
All right, we're going back to the Fugazi record, Repeater, but we're taking the best song off the LP, which is Blueprint. This is such a moody, starts very quiet and building, and the guitar work is just, it hooks you in instantly with just the fragility of it, and then it explodes, and it's a Guy sung Fugazi song, which might be, it's so funny, like I usually lean a little bit more towards the Ian sung songs, but all my favorite Fugazi songs end up being Guy sung ones pretty much, and this is way up there for me. It's an absolutely we talked about blueprints of other songs, like Broken being the blueprint for a ton of emotional hardcore to come. This is also in that lane. It's showing the ability to play with quiet and loud, and emotional and pissed at the same time, and it's just incredible songwriting. It's at the apex of hard guitar music. It's an incredible song, and never mind what's been selling, it's what you're buying, and this is the fucking track.
And the crowd jeers. Ben, what's your take on this?
Not one of my favorite songs, but a good song nonetheless. I don't kind of sort of in the middle. I would rank it on the songs on Repeater. If I had to pick a second best song, if someone had stolen Repeater, I just wouldn't have picked a Fugazi song, but I would say my number 2 would probably be Merchandise.
Well, guys, I'm not condemning those who choose metal riffs or write lyrics that don't make any sense. Instead, we'll stay the same as before as long as we're together and putting out core. Others have changed. That's okay. You do what you want. We'll stay the same. I think I fucked that up, huh? I'm going to insert myself doing that properly at the end. Yeah, I'm taking...
Speaking of this being a blueprint, this is not going to change Zach's estimation of this record at all, but Jimmy Eat World totally ripped this off for the song Digits. The beginning of that is just like a straight rip off of the beginning of this song. So it does really play into that loud, quiet, loud sort of thing that really becomes so big in the 90s.
Hell yeah. Yeah. All right, well, I really am going to take that instead song. I'm not condemning those who choose metal riffs or write lyrics that don't make any sense. Instead, we'll say the same as before, as long as we're together and putting out core. Others have changed. That's okay. You do what you want. We'll stay the same. We'll still sing about what feels right. It's the reason for keeping us tight. Burn, dun, dun. It's like one of those songs that only Instead could do and get away with. Like if anyone else had these lyrics, it'd be cheesy as fuck. And maybe it is to some people, but to me, it's not. It's like one of my favorite hardcore bands doing, like, wrapping up, like, basically, their career with one of my favorite songs by them. It's so true to them. It's so catchy. It's like, it's a thing that repeats like it's just the same thing repeating over and over, like very much like We'll Make the Difference, and it's just a great cap on what they do until they had like the new bonus tracks that came out on the discography on Indecision Records. So get that if you haven't. But yeah, I love Instead. And this is a top 5 Instead song for me. Again, just totally classic and so true to them and so true to what they did and how special they were. Ben, you got anything on this?
Yeah, you've got my dad's vote. He loves quoting this song. He's like, "Are you still putting out Core?" He used to always say that to me. If Steve Instead is listening right now, he's mortified because he's oftentimes told me how embarrassed he is of this song. But come on, my dad likes it, so he's got one fan from this. I love this song.
Dude, Steve, you're crazy. Like, this song rips. I can understand, like, we've all written music that like we listen to and we are a little cringe about. I would change this. I would change this. It's very similar to like tattoos. Like, I'd change almost everything a little bit. But it's what you put out there. It's a part of you. It's a part of your story. It's a part of your identity. And this song is legit. Like, Instead, there's a reason why they are a pretty much universally loved band by like their fans, and like no one really has too much bad to say about them because like they weren't fronting, right? Like they can get away with this song because it is what they were, and it's a perfect example, and it rips. So Dan, you got anything on this?
I will never, ever, ever think that honest sentiment and referential loving of hardcore and wearing your heart on your sleeve is ever cheesy. Even if something may ring with a bit of cheese, I choose to dig deeper into that and find celebrate the heart that was there instead of thinking it's cringe or cheesy. I think it's fucking amazing. Instead forever. Love it.
Yeah, especially because like, the spirit of this pod is like, the anti-edgelord, right? Like it's so easy to be an edgelord and shit talk things and dismiss things. It's like just lazy, it takes so much more balls to like put it out there, what you love, what you like stand for, like what you believe in and who you are, right? It's so much easier to like hide in the corner and shit talk things or nitpick things. But this song is the opposite of that. And that's why I love it. Clevo, you have anything on this, or should we shoot it to Ben for his number 6?
Nothing. I don't really have anything to add.
Hell yeah, Ben, number 6.
All right. One more thing I wanted to say about that Instead song is that I would say that's also the influence of hip hop on hardcore music showing, because the way it's, we have a song about ourselves and like our own history up to this point, very hip hop thing to do. Back in 4 years ago when we started this band, essentially is what they're singing about. So probably has something to do with why I dig it. My number 6 pick will be, this is tough, but I'm going to go, since Clevo took my Naked Raygun pick for 1987 when he picked Vanilla Blue, I've got to go Naked Raygun, and I'm going to do the first track off their 1990 LP, which was their final LP until they put out one last year, which is called Raygun, Naked Raygun, and the song is called Home. And I know a lot of people might think like they fell off towards the end. John Haggerty had left the band. He was the guitarist for the entire band up until the album before this one. But this album is great to me. It's the first 3 songs just flow into each other so perfectly. It's just everything you'd want from Naked Raygun. It's anthemic. It's got the woes. It's got the sing-alongs. It's got the melody. They are Chicago's finest. And I didn't get into this record until Fields of Fire. We're in the tour van and Graham puts it on and I'm like, what the fuck is this? This is incredible. He's like, dude, Naked Raygun. And I'm like, oh, never really checked this one out. So Home is my pick. And John Haggerty had actually left the band and started Pegboy around this time. And they're another great band that is not going to make my list because we only have 7 picks. So you gotta make your choices.
Has anyone ever chosen a Naked Raygun song that wasn't the first song off the record?
Um,
They're the first track banger band.
if
Totally.
Ben didn't take this, I would have taken a non-first track song off of this album.
Ooh,
I
still
think
can.
yeah,
Streak.
I think the song "Strange Days" is way up there with great Naked Raygun songs. It's super catchy, but this song also was a single. No surprise, the first song on a Naked Raygun album is catchy enough to make it a single, and it is backed with a cover of a Chelsea song, "Last Drink," which is great song. And I think Naked Raygun did a great version of that. Naked Raygun did great first songs, and they did great covers.
I love it. I'm glad this is on the list. Dan, you got anything on this, or should we go to Clevo for his number 6?
Naked Raygun rules, but let's go to Cleaver.
Oh yeah, Clevo number 6.
This is like double heartbreaker round this time. There's a lot of stuff still out there. But talking about sort of new scene, I'm gonna take the first song off the Quicksand 7-inch, and that is "Omission." Quicksand, we all know about Quicksand now. But when this first came out, when I got it actually the same day as I got the Youth of Today 7-inch. So these two records just really together, were kind of the soundtrack, part of the soundtrack to that summer for me. Youth of Today, a little bit of a different direction for them, but Quicksand is a completely different direction. From what we are listening, it would be a new direction, if you will. But I just think that this song is so good, and I love this version compared to the LP version. It's Quicksand. There's so much groove, and there's just it still has some heaviness to it, some power, but it's just really. This record, the instrumentals, whatever, Clean Slate. I don't know if I don't think they ever re-recorded that, but Omission Unfulfilled. 3 great songs, and I love this record.
Ben, does the fact that the cover of this record looks like a bronze Donald Trump sitting on a cube of cheesecake, does that detract from this record at all for you?
I think it looks like a John F. Kennedy, but so it doesn't. Not that Kennedy was, the greatest person in the world who ever lived. He wasn't. But that's who I think of when I look at this very, very strange record cover. But that's a good pick, Clevo. And I totally agree that this version of Omission is better than the LP version. And I did have on my short list Clean Slate, and it really was a toss-up between Omission and Clean Slate. And the only reason I had Clean Slate is because 1990 is the only year in which that song could be picked. In other words, if we do a 90, which we will eventually do in 93, Super 7, Omission could be picked for that. But yeah, this is people think of them as, I don't know what people think of them now. They think of them as post-hardcore, but in general terms, maybe an alt-rock band breaking into that whole alt-rock explosion of the whole early 90s. And I always thought of them as a hard rock band. Like, they are hard rock the way Led Zeppelin was a hard rock band. Like, big, giant, stadium, heavy, slower, distorted guitar, riff-oriented music. I don't know.
Well, let's shoot it to over to have a Hypno Jam with Dan for either his take on Quicksand or his 7th pick Heartbreaker round.
Well, come on over for the Hypno Jam because, it's epic. I wonder if Omission is going to be omitted on the 1993 list. All right, we're in full-blown Heartbreaker mode because I don't have a Chain song. I could easily dip back in and steal No Spiritual Surrender since it's still out there and do a double Warzone move. and there's just too much good stuff. It's like AM PM up in this motherfucker. Firewalker, Slapshot. Oh, Jesus Christ, I've run out of space. You know what? Fuck it. I'm going drug free, you and me. Confront, One Life drug free. This song is fucking incredible. It's hard as shit. It's straight edge as fuck. It makes me want to mosh through a fucking, not even a wall. It makes me want to mosh through like 10 Evil Knievel like cars that are all laid out for Evil Knievel. I just want to mosh through all of those cars while Evil Knievel's jumping over me, while I have X'd up construction gloves on and a chain belt, and I'm listening to One Life Drug Free by Confront. This song is hardcore. If you don't like this, you might not like hardcore. If you don't like this, I might mosh you while wearing those construction gloves. So be warned. Anyone out there who doesn't like this, I'm going to Home Depot soon, and I'm getting a fucking Sharpie and some gloves.
Dude, this song sounds so Blueprint, but like when you break it down, it's like very unique. Because like that tempo they hit on like the One Life drug free, it's not like a, I don't know, it's not like a mosh tempo or breakdown tempo or like a double step tempo. It's just like it's a pulse, right? So like they go from the dun 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 dun, the very generic like 80s hardcore, you know, dun 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 with fast scene, and then they like settle into like this tempo that's more of a pulse. It's very like SSD, Get It Away 7-inch ish in that aspect. It's really a spectacular song. It's pretty fucking awesome.
I think that's a really great point, Zach. I think it's like channeling SSD while you've also been huge fans of Youth of Today.
Yeah,
You know?
I mean that's the mashup. It's pretty spectacular in that way when you like really think about it. Which I do. I love hardcore music and I love thinking about the songs, like the songwriting.
It has a bit of that, you know, straight ahead YOLO to it too.
For sure. It has like early Youth of Today or straight ahead, like YOLO hardcore, done through a little bit of like a third wave generic lens, but then like there's just like this heart that rolls through it, you know, like I don't know. It's like they're trying to replicate a couple things and missing, but like landing on their own thing, which is like special in itself. And yeah, it's just rad. Ben, you got anything on this?
Yeah, that's like you summed up like the history of music is like bands trying to sound like other bands, failing and then successfully sounding like themselves. And to me, it sounds like a mashup of The Abused, and then when he goes go and it goes back into that fast part, it reminds me of the Mob, the New York City Mob, because it's like an incorrect fast beat, digga 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 digga, like he's playing on the wrong beat, but it's still like awesome sounding. Yeah, this song fucking rules.
I don't think that they were setting out to do it, but is Confront proto record collector core?
Maybe, although I had both versions of that 7-inch at some time and sold them both.
But
Which,
I feel like no,
right
I'm
there.
saying like sounding like it.
Demo
Think
core.
about when this came out. You couldn't just go get SSD, Mob, Abused. Like those records just weren't readily available.
Right.
So like that's what I mean. Like, you know, now a kid goes on the internet, hears SSD, and he's like, I'm gonna make a demo that sounds like this on my computer. But like that wasn't you couldn't, if you didn't have the records then, you didn't have the records. Or if like unless if your friends didn't have the records, you didn't hear this stuff.
I would say that some of the great UK hardcore bands of the last like 5 years sound a lot like this song as well. Violent Reaction,
Yeah.
The Flex, you know.
I mean,
Rated
Confront were true fans of hardcore, though, right? Like, there's
Oh yeah, of
stories
course.
about, like,
No.
Youth of Today rolling through town and like hanging out in their backyard and shit. You know, it's a shame that, you know, some of these dudes ended up being like right-wing douchebags. You know, that's a bummer, man.
No, I'm just saying that I think that they were like students of hardcore. Like they
Right.
they heard all of those records and they had, they had access to that stuff because they were a couple of years older than me. I definitely heard stuff because of the older people in the scene. But like I didn't hear SSD until the Power Tape came out. Like that record just wasn't around.
True. Clevo, did these guys ever thank you for your service?
I'm sure at some point they may have.
Yeah. Okay, let's see here. Oh, much like Absolution, maybe their best songs are on comps. We should say that.
I don't know if I'd agree with that.
Okay. I've been wrong many times before, but not usually. Okay, let's see. My number 7. This shit is wild because I'm gonna leave No Spiritual Surrender on the table. A song that, like, I think Clevo talked about. Just that song and Burning Fight have just been tainted by so many bad covers over the last 25 years. I'm going to take a song off a 7-inch that I think, much like the Rorschach, we don't talk about enough on the pod and should be getting big upped. And it is on Spotify now. The Citizen's Arrest, A Light in the Darkness 7-inch. This thing is so wild, so YOLO. And people, if you listen to this and it doesn't grab you on the first listen, I think that's okay. But this is like one of those records. It's 6 songs. It's a classic 7-inch. Put it on repeat. Listen to it 5 times in a row when you're out for a walk or you're out for a drive or something. And I guarantee you, by the end of the 5th listen, you're going to find so many nooks and crannies on the 7-inch that it is going to be one of your favorites.
What song you taking?
You can have Serve and Protect. I'm going to take Fortress. But I want to talk about the Without Peace, like the bow. It's like the best bends in the history of hardcore. Like that little lead they do. Oh my God. Like, get out of here. Serve and Protect gets a minus a point for like 10 seconds before the music starts. It doesn't bother me when I listen on vinyl because I just drop that needle 10 seconds in. But when you listen on streaming, it's like, why the fuck am I not listening to like music on second number 1? But yeah, Fortress is like almost like street punk sounding, and the dude goes for it with the voice. There's a lot of YOLO in the voice, and there is so much YOLO when it goes fast out of nowhere. This is like blueprint YOLO. If you're looking for what I'm talking about, why is that idiot Zach always saying YOLO? The fuck is that? Well, it's this Fortress song where it just goes fast out of nowhere because you needed it. You didn't think about it. It doesn't necessarily make sense, but you needed it. They delivered it because fucking YOLO. And yeah, I love this song. I love this 7-inch. You could really just snatch anything off it. It is that great. Those bends make me want to lean Without Peace and Serve and Protect. Hard to not take it. First song on the record, probably the standout track. But I'm going Fortress. Let's get a mid-tempo banger on there. And yeah, Dan, you got to take on this or what?
I knew this was coming, and I knew when you mentioned this EP, I did hear a strong exhale over there in on the East Coast because he thought you were stealing his. I think this band, it's going to, because yeah, now you say it's finally on streaming and all of that. I think it's gonna pick up some newer listeners that never had a chance to get their hands on this, and I think it's gonna start to be one of those things that people are gonna name check in another resurgence of it because it's so cool. And shout out Ted Leo.
Yeah, it's one of those ones where like the people that love it, like they hold it so close to their chest, and it's like, no, this is like one of the greatest 7-inches ever, and like recognize, you know what I mean? So I'm glad we're talking about it. Ben, you got anything on this, or you want to take your song 7?
Never a band that struck a chord with me, but yeah, they definitely are a cult band. They are definitely much like Rorschach and much like Born Against, who kind of all came out of the same era and the same scene. The there are people who ride so hard for these bands. So for my number 7 pick, I want to honor the dead and pick someone who isn't with us anymore. And I was thinking Sarah Kirsch, who had the band Fuel and the song Some Gods. But then I thought, there's someone else I gotta honor, and that would be John Bunch and the band Reason to Believe, who are from the Redondo Beach, Harbor City area. The song Spelling Words off of their one LP on Nemesis Records, when Reason Sleeps When Demons Dance. I hope I got that right. I have this album on vinyl and cassette, and I've been looking for it on CD for, no joke, 27 years. I've been looking for this compact disc. One day I will find it. Spelling Words is the song. They just have this thing where John Bunch really knows how to sing, which is very rare in hardcore music, and he's belting it out, and the music is totally melodic, but it's also fast and furious. It's this great combination that, I guess you can kind of get a little bit of that vibe from a Verbal Assault or Dag Nasty, but not the way Reason to Believe does it. They're pretty singular, and they have made the mistake that lots of my bands have made, which is having their shit be out of print for a million years and entire generations of kids not getting into them. And to this day, this shit is not on Spotify, and I still got to pick it anyway, though. Spelling Words, Reason to Believe.
Yeah, it's bullshit that it's not on Spotify and no one is done a discography yet. It's not from lack of trying. I know Indecision wanted to do it. I think Rev wanted to do it. And there's something happening. So whoever's in charge of it, let it be for the people. Because this and the 7-inch are spectacular. I like the LP more than the 7-inch. I love this LP. I had a test press at one point, which is like maybe my biggest record score. Sold it and the LP. Regret both. But hey, it is what it is. I'm glad this is on here, but it needs to be on streaming because, good God, man, how is this lost to history? I mean, like, it's just so spectacular. This is not a knock. It sounds a little bit like early Offspring to people that don't have any idea what this sounds like, which kind of goes to show you how unique it is, because I don't know what else you would really compare Offspring to or this to. Just like unique vocals with drivey, like melodic music that you can't like say like, oh, that sounds like Bad Religion. Oh, that sounds like, whatever, right? It doesn't. So yeah, I love this. Glad it's on the list. Clevo, you got anything on this, or you want to take your final pick?
I don't have anything on this. Trying to stall for my pick since you took the Citizens Arrest.
I can speak on Citizens Arrest if you're not going to take it.
What's that?
Do you want to speak on the Citizens Arrest if you're not going to take it, and then take it into your number 7?
Yeah, it's just kind of the same stuff we said about sort of the other stuff. Absolution, Rorschach, those other bands, just sort of breaking free from that youth crew sort of mold. And yeah, it's. I think it's pretty similar to Rorschach. It's like more hardcore than Rorschach, where they do have those blasty beats. But yeah, I probably would have taken Serve and Protect. But I was going back and forth between Serve and Protect and In the Distance. Yeah, fucking great band, great record. Band that I'm really bummed I never got to see even in their reunion mode. For my final pick, going back and forth because there's a lot to choose from here. I'm going to take... So these are two super important bands I'm picking between, but I'm going to take Born Against from the same comp that the Absolution song came from, and I'm going to take The Good Father. Another just band just putting out there some important stuff, talking about American imperialism, Central America sort of stuff, and but Born Against, I think people think of them as Sam being this big personality, but this is the first thing that they put out an album on record. I think they may have had a demo before this, but it's before the 7-inch, and it's just from the ashes of Life's Blood, and just kind of it's more carrying on with Life's Blood than what comes from Born Against later. But I think super important band. We're getting into the honorable mentions. I was actually thinking, again, because they're important, I was going to take something off the Vegan Reich 7-inch, because I think that that's another thing that's like, this is what's coming next. And I think that Vegan Reich had a huge part in that stuff that comes later in the 90s. But no, Born Against, Good Father, it's on the Murders Among Us comp, which is a great comp if you don't have it. Life's Blood song is good, the Nausea song is good, but Born Against and Absolution are the winners on that record.
Hell yeah. All right, Dan, let's go to you for honorable mentions.
I just got a few. I'm not gonna bombard people. Essence, Even Score, Someday, Face Value. Basically, the other two songs on the that's not the Insight Whispery one on the Only the Strong. The other two songs on the Chain of Strength 7-inch. No Spiritual Surrender. How is that not on anyone else's list? It's
Dude,
crazy.
we're gonna get fucking skewered for that.
You want to really get skewered? That would be the last song I picked off of that. If I was going to take a song off of Inside Out, I probably would have taken. Which one did you take, Ben? Sacrifice or Redemption?
He took Redemption.
Yeah, I would have taken Sacrifice or Undertone.
Well, because
sorry,
we're anti-edgelord on here, Clevo, and also referring to your last pick, you better be extremely fucking cautious who you talk shit about. Also, I'm the Filth, Live the Chaos 7-inch. I would have taken Lust for Glory off of that, and I was this close to taking it, but Firewalker, Slapshot, Punk's Dead, You're Next. What a moody, amazing, like crazy as fuck song. I actually love it. The fact that Zach was saying it as a clowning thing,
I was not.
Really
It was, dude. I almost took it. You want to worship Wadi?
Yeah,
That's not the way to be, dude. That song rips because it's like they're saying Punk's dead, but yet like the song, so many elements of it are like 70s rock, which is like the reason for punk existing, right? Like, oh, this stuff's like long in the tooth. So let's play punk music. And then here you are being like, fuck punk. And then like you're going, first of all, you're writing a punk song.
yeah.
It has like lots of 70s rock elements. It's like, whoa, man. Like, it's
Inception.
like a circle, man. Like, I get it,
Jawbreaker, Unfun. That LP, especially the song Busy. That was going to be on there. And then, there's a few more Integ jams. Pavlov's Dogs, Rorschach. What a great year. What a fucking great year. And pretty much anything else that's on the Rebuilding comp. I'm glad I took Face Up over Broken because that's the lane of Turning Point I like, but I can't take away from how epic Broken is. And then to Zach's point about listeners going on and thinking like, why is he always talking about YOLO? Well, if you want to listen to YOLO with a capital YOLO, just dip into Candiria. We've talked about them on a previous pod. And if you want to really go YOLO, go Candiria.
Those first two Candiria full lengths are like two of my favorite records ever. Like if you have a long attention span or if you're on like a long drive, put them on, enjoy your 45 minutes to an hour. That shit is wild. But yeah, shout out Candiria. The first two are so ill. And we should talk them again and revisit, maybe Cleve will be lucky and get to be on that pod and break down Candiria. Okay. Let's see here. Honorable mentions of things that didn't get mentioned. So obviously I had backup songs for almost all my picks, but The Florida Powerhouse put out their 7-inch this year. I absolutely love that 7-inch. It never gets talked about. It's not on streaming, so whatever. Like
That
get your
that
shit.
was gonna be my 7th pick if it was on streaming. Death of a Salesman. That's a fucking hard ass anti-racism song, fucking banger.
Dude, it's like the closest any band has ever sounded like side by side. So it would be, I don't know. It always has a chance of that resurgence, when people discover it. It's a 7-inch that's out there that is fucking awesome. I
You should
do
buy
think
that 7-inch for me for my birthday, Zach.
Okay, yeah. I'll track it down. It is on Bandcamp, I believe, and I'll find that link. So everyone, look for Powerhouse, Death of a Salesman, like Clevo said, the 7-inch. Also, another thing for, Dan might get bodied for this, or maybe I should for living here now since 06. But Amenity, this is our struggle.
Yeah.
And Force Down.
Yeah, I can't believe Ben didn't choose Force Down, but maybe it was to benefit the playlist.
Didn't Force
'cause-
Down put down like 2 double 7-inches in 1990?
Again, like a band that needs to be on streaming. I think their Bandcamp might have their whole discography, but it's not on the streaming. So handle business, people. 2022. We just want to listen to music on streaming.
You're right, Zach. I didn't take This Is Our Struggle because it wasn't on Spotify, and I'm trying to just make the playlist like coherent. But you're 100% right. Kill me in the comments.
That's right. And Amenity, their full discography is up. You can download it for free on Bandcamp. So that's awesome. But hey, make that jump to Spotify and Apple Music and all that shit. Again, it's just like we want to listen to your music. I hate listening to shit on YouTube and Bandcamp. Like, I don't know. Whatever. That's just me being crotchety. But it is what it is. Inside Out, Reason Leave. We talked about that. Visual Discrimination in Vain LP. Got some fucking tracks. And Ben, let's go to you for honorable mentions.
Yeah, so Frosty chimed in about who's yelling "Through These Eyes" on the song "Through These Eyes" by Chain of Strength, and the answer is actually Randy Johnson of the band's Pushed Aside, Against the Wall, and he was also the second singer of Ignite. So that's whose voice you hear.
And that's Randy Johnson of Ignite fame, not bird killing fame.
Correct, not the Major League Baseball pitcher who murders birds on purpose. So
can we get
my
Randy Johnson
honorable-
to aim at Bert's backyard next time we record there?
Take him to Costa Rica. Okay, my honorable mentions: Super Touch, Engine, Force Down, Escape. The reason I wanted to pick Force Down over Naked Raygun, and Naked Raygun won because they're on streaming, and then I broke my own rule by picking Reason to Believe. I already mentioned Fuel. Pitchfork, Burn Pigs Burn, Life But How to Live It, the song Green, Quicksand Clean Slate, Shudder to Think About 3 Dreams, Peg Boy, Through My Fingers, Weirdos, Cyclops Helicopter. We think of the Weirdos as peaking in 1978 or so. This song is fucking incredible. It's on their one LP that came out in 1990. Resolution, I Seek, which is on a 10-inch. Shout out to the world's greatest format. Poison Idea, Just to Get Away. Zach picked it instead from the start. Zach picked it. Iceburn Fall. Lots of whispering in that song as well. Jawbox Bullet Park. Jawbreaker. Anything Off Unfun. Seaweed, Just a Smirk. The Snakes, Don't Tread on Me. Undertow, My Enemy. This is back when they had a different singer. Rain, Snake Out. Downcast, Hate Comes Easy off the very first record on Abolition. The entire Only the Strong comp, Dan basically picked it. Shelter, Photographs Lie, Slapshot, Firewalker, the band All, and the song is Sum, S-U-M. 411, Those Homophobic, Majority of One Set the Pace, Outspoken, Reinforced, Upfront, Fade, and One Step Ahead, Wait.
Clevo, honorable mentions.
There's a lot of comps this year. You have the Voice of Thousands comp. You have the Generation of Hope comp. You have those live Nemesis 7 inches with some jams, some good banter on there. Look at all the Children Now comp. Shelter No Compromise 7 inch. Two things I was gonna pick. We already talked about Powerhouse, not on Spotify. Also the band Haywire, which is post Half Off, Billy Rubin. They put out, under my estimation, they put out at least 2 records in 1990, if not 3. One being a live 7 inch that was recorded the night of the World Series Earthquake, which happened to also be on what became Edge Day, 10/17. The Pitchfork LP, Leatherface, Fill Your Boots or Smokey Joe, Neanderthal 7 inch. You want to talk about some YOLO, some sludgy YOLO there. Superchunk, self-titled. Biohazard, self-titled. Ben, you mentioned the Weirdos. I actually saw them on that tour in 1990, opening for the Circle Jerks. So I had them on the list. And also, speaking of the Weirdos, Laughing Hyenas, Life of Crime, which features the Weirdos cover. Vegan Reich, Face Value, Coming of Age. I'm mad that I didn't take it. And lastly, Rollins Band covering Cheech and Chong, Earache My Eye on a Sub Pop Singles Club 7 inch. Yes, I own it on multiple formats. But that's my list.
Dude, this year is so awesome. I am so stoked to listen to this playlist. It's one of my favorite things about doing the Super Sevens. I listened to the year, probably the week building up to this, like exclusively. And this was an easy one because there's so much rad shit for 1990. And now it's going to be condensed down into one playlist. I cannot wait to listen to it on shuffle for hours tomorrow. Dan, final thoughts on this pod?
Yeah, I can't wait for the playlist either. And, I think we're going to have to start calling him Cincinnati. He didn't take that Face Value track. So, do call him Cincinnati. And, I just can't wait for the listeners to chime in with what would have been on their lists. So make sure when we do put these things up, you do comment like what you would have liked to have seen, and then blast us all for not having No Spiritual Surrender. 1990, what a surprising year, because when you think about it, there are some tentpole records, but you didn't realize it was going to go that deep, and it is a really deep year, and it's fantastic. And I love doing this, and I can't wait for the playlist.
Oops, putting together the playlist and Bluetooth did me dirty.
Final word.
Yeah, Ben, closing thoughts on this year?
Congratulations, Clevo, who was married a couple days ago, and instead of doing a honeymoon, decided to do the 1990 Super 7 playlist with us. This is Clevo's honeymoon. You're listening to it here and now.
Congratulations, Ben, for dating the pod. And Clevo, final thoughts on this year on this pod?
1990, I know going into it, we thought was going to be a bit of a struggle, but man, when you dig deep down, there's just so much good hardcore out there. And I know that we didn't even scratch the surface. I know that comes later. I know we didn't even scratch the surface, but again, my list is skewed very East Coast. And I'm sure people are going to tell us that there's a bunch of stuff from outside of the U.S. and outside of the East Coast that's out there. So really, if it's not on the list, add it to the comments. Let us know what we missed. And yeah, hardcore rules.
That's right. This year just ended up being spectacular. Everyone, we love you. Dan, where can the people find you?
Don't worry, Clevo. We're going to send you to Costa Rica, a.k.a. El Cajon, California. You can find me on Instagram at Southpaw Instagrammer.
It's going to be a birdemic in Bert's backyard. Ben, Where can the people find you?
On Instagram at Cold Chillin' Book.
Clevo, where can people find you?
On Instagram at Clevo.
Everyone, you can get at me. The best way is 185 miles south at gmail.com. I respond to everyone. You can get in the DMs. 185 miles south on Twitter or Instagram. That gets a little weirder. So who knows if I get back to you or not. Just because they're strange. Also, my personal is Zach Retaliate on Instagram. And Retaliate is the best on Instagram. If you love the 90s, get that Retaliate CD on indecisionrecords.com. Handle business, and we love you all. We'll talk to you on Patreon next week.